Hi everyone, Alan Denman here. Welcome to the hero's journey, bringing you thoughts, insights, and hopefully inspiration on the art of storytelling. I'm going to keep it much shorter this week because we have guests coming in a few minutes, and I want to keep this as brief as possible and just focus on one idea. And the theme of today's post is your opening sentence. This is something that I haven't heard people talk about before, but I think it's very important. I come from, before I was writing novels, I came from a screenwriting background, and it was, character arts, characterization, structure, turning points, and all this kind of thing. But in a novel, you have to hook people. A novel is a sort of promise to a reader that they will get an interesting story and they will be engaged and immersed in that story. So, with that kind of way of thinking, your opening sentence is absolutely vital. And remember what you're doing when you're writing a story or a novel or a screenplay, anything narrative. You are creating a fictitious world. It's made up. Now, it may be very similar to 21st century London, or it may be set in the future or in the past. Excuse me. But the thing is, you have to make it feel real. And you have a great advantage because we have a thing called the imagination. So if I say to you, it was a dark, lonely track leading across the barren hilltop. A man walked with his dog. I just say those few words. You will already be imagining that hilltop. You're probably already imagining the dog and the man walking with him side by side, and you'll have your own image of it. So we have this sort of instant thing. I call it our Imaginarium, and I'll talk more about how the imagination works in future episodes. But so just bear that in mind. So your opening sentence is absolutely vital. And I'm a sort of partial fan of Stephen King because I think he is a very interesting writer. It's pretty dark, some of his stuff, but I think he has a wonderful flow. And he produced for me, I think, one of the best opening sentences of any novel, any story. And it goes like this. Is from the Dark Tower series. And it begins like this. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. I'm just going to talk about that. I'll say it once more. Listen carefully. Listen in particular for the length of the sentence as well. Okay? And then who are these two characters as well? He's introducing two characters in his opening sentence. And the other thing he's doing is introducing something supernatural. The man in black sounds like it could be a wizard or something like that, a sorcerer, and a gunslinger. Well, gunslinger is a western. So one of the things he's doing here is he's combining two distinctive genres, which also is very striking. So I'm just going to say it again. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. What we have here in this sentence is, in fact, the story encapsulated in one line of the whole series of novels, of which I think there are 8. And it's amazing. So the gunslinger is the protagonist. The man in black, just the fact he's a man in black, is the antagonist. And they are in a battle. One is running away from the other, doesn't want to be caught. So I think this is really a wonderful opening sentence, and it grips you. So if a novel is a promise to deliver a certain kind of story, then you can see that the opening sentence is absolutely vital. So I'm just going to share that thought with you. What is your opening sentence when you write anything? What do you put in that first sentence? Instead of focusing your attention on, well, this character happens and this is what happens in the first chapter and everything else, think about your opening sentence. Because this is the other thing, is that if you create a strong enough opening sentence, and especially you'll notice with Stephen King, he uses all the senses. So, you can visualize, you can hear, you can smell, you can get the sensation of where his characters are walking, breathing, sleeping, and so forth. And he's very good at that. He employs the senses. And this means that if you can do this in your writing, then your audience are going to have a stronger imaginative experience, and then they will believe it. So basically, and I don't want to say we as human beings are gullible, which of course we are, and we believe all kinds of things, just as medieval people believed that there were dragons up in the hills, in the woods, up the mountain, and so forth. But you can convince people through story that something is real, and we'll suspend disbelief for, or however long it takes, 4, 5, 6 hours to read that novel. So this is very important. So you have to have authority. So when your opening sentence is an opportunity to show your authority as a storyteller. I'm saying, listen, in effect, what you're saying is, I'm going to tell you a story. It's pretty amazing, but it's all true. And with that conviction, that authority, the reader will follow you. So I'm a great believer in what is your opening sentence and crafting that. And so I thought I'd just end today's talk and read you a little bit. I'll put my glasses on. Sorry about that. You might get a bit of reflection. But I thought I'd just read you from one of my novels. And you're welcome to tell me whether you think this is an authoritative, visual, convincing opening. But that one line of Stephen King's has been quite an influence on me in thinking about how I begin a story. So I'm going to read. I'll be looking down as I do this. So I hope you enjoy this. It's from The Captain and the Sea Creature, which is on Amazon. This is how this story begins. It was spring and the sky was blue, a great crystal dome arching over a broad blue sea. The sun had just risen and was happily scattering beams of gold across the waves. A fresh breeze blew in from the sea, and the waves carried the golden beams towards a tranquil beach, which in itself was a golden and which curved in a perfect crescent around a bay. It was a spectacular day, a perfect day. So that's it, and I rather like playing with storytelling itself, and this is a generally a comic novel, so I like being playful. This is how this story begins. Oh right, okay then, and the story is quite magical in places, and remarkable things happen. But I hope that I get people far enough into it that they think, oh, just go with it now. This is the world now that I'm in. So think about that. Ask yourself when you're writing, or if you're not a writer, think about the next novel you pick up, and rather than rush into it, just look at the opening line and maybe even read the opening line out loud just to see how it sounds. What are the rhythms? One of the things I really liked about The Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. It's a very long opening sentence. So, in my mind, I instantly saw the desert, and deserts are broad, open, and generally flat. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. And so I think there's that sort of, and also the sense this is going to be a big story, right? So these aren't little short, itsy bitsy sentences, it's a long sentence. So that's it for today. Happy writing, happy reading, and I'll speak to you next week. That's it for now. Bye-bye.